An entitled couple tried to cheat me out of my contracting job, taking my prices and literally changing them on the page I gave them, all under the assumption that I wouldn't see it so that they could get a discount on their new home they wanted me to build. And I've honestly never been more blown away by somebody's entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. So I was working with a couple to renovate their home in New York City. They had narrowed down their search to myself and one other person, with me being the preferred client and the other being the more budget option. I gave these clients my detailed spreadsheet of how much everything would cost so that they could use it to pick and remove the non-essentials in hopes of getting closer to the number they wanted. And they had so many luxuries, it really shouldn't have been that hard to do. Well, a few days later, they both call me announcing that they've done it, and they said this in a celebratory manner. Now, my price as designed was almost $1.7 million. If I removed every single non-essential item, I could get the budgets down to $1.2 million. So I opened the sheet, and they had somehow got down to $955,000. I look through it briefly and see literally nothing has been removed. So we are about $600,000 or more lower to build the same house. So I call the client to ask if I have the right spreadsheet, and the wife answers and says, "Oh, sorry, maybe not, I'll resend it." They resend it and we remain on the phone to go through it together. But guess what? It's the same thing, same pricing, same sheet. I tell the client I'll call her back, and I open up the original sheet and I put it side by side, as I can't really see what's changed initially. But I finally saw what happened about a minute later. The first thing I notice is the fancy $7,000 archway, which in the spreadsheet was closer to $10,000, with all the markups included, but the base price was $7,250. They had simply gone to that number and changed it to $1,750. I keep looking, and they have gone through the whole spreadsheet and done this. Another example of this is that they wanted this custom railing, as well as a staircase on this exterior metal deck. This was an item they were to remove based on our conversations. This particular service was $25,000 or so, but they changed it to $8,000. And trust me when I say this, there were so many other examples besides this one. I call the client still incredibly confused, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe they didn't want to spend $10,000 on the fancy archway, so they thought maybe we could do it for $2,000 instead or something like that. But when I asked them what happened, I was honestly amazed by their entitlement, as they said things that I seriously never expected. The client said to me, "We just adjusted some numbers until we came up with our budget." So I said to them, "Okay, to be clear then, in the areas you've lowered my numbers, you're expecting less, correct? For example, with the archway, you want me to just put regular trim detail there, or whatever $1,750 can buy, right?" At this point, the client sounded confused. No, we still want the archway. Why?" I say to them, "Hang on, you're still expecting the details as they're drawn in the bid sheet?" And it's right about then that the husband joined the call. The client said, "Yes, why?" And they sounded really confused, or they were just doing a good job of acting confused. I asked them again, "So you haven't removed any items? You've just lowered the price to what exactly?" And at this point, the client still didn't get it. So I said to them, "Maybe I'm not being clear, so I'll use an analogy then. I've said I'm going to cook you a burger with all the trimmings for $10. You guys have given me $6, so I've said to you, hey, here's my menu. Go ahead and remove the bacon and the egg and see if we can still get a price that you're happy with. But it seems like you just changed the price of the burger on the menu to $5 without removing anything from that. Am I correct in assuming that?" Now at this point, the client's tone changes for the first time ever. They go from upbeat and excited to literally your evil stepmother. "Oh, I see. Yes, well, we looked through a lot of your pricing, and we just don't see how they could cost what you've quoted, so we changed them to where we thought they should be." Now, I was, up until this point, wondering if they're stupid or manipulative, and it was at this moment I realized it was the second one. I said to them, "Based on what?" The client then responded by saying, "What?" So I said it again. "What did you base your numbers on? How did you decide what they should be?" The client then said, "I guess we just thought about what was reasonable and what we thought was fair for everyone." Now, as a side note, nothing induces rage in me quicker than a client talking about paying me fair. I responded by saying, "Okay, look, this is really inappropriate. I gave the sheet over in good faith for you to review what could be removed or retained, but it was not so you could decide what you wanted to pay. The pricing in there is truly reflective on what I can do the job for in a way that allows for minimal price changes and allows me to be in business afterwards to honor your warranty." The client then said, "We just don't get how these things can cost so much." Now, in that moment, I then see at the bottom my profit margin of 15%, which was standard standard in the area that I work in. But they had changed that as well to 5%, so we're talking about $100,000. I said to them, guys, you changed my profit margin. You can't do that. It's not a negotiation. It's an offer to perform services. I then said to them, okay, I need some time to consider my next move here. The clients, sensing that they were losing me, they said to me, we're seeing this as a partnership. You could use this house as a showroom for future clients. So I responded by saying, I see every job as a partnership, but ultimately it's your house. Almost all of my old clients allow me to show their home. I get invited for dinners regularly, as well as for birthdays, and I would love for you guys to be a part of that, but I can't pay $500,000 to do that here. Listen, my pricing is set. I've put my best foot forward, and if you want to work with me, I'm going to build you a wonderful home. So as always, please reach out if you have any questions. Now fast forward, and they ended up hiring a contractor who agreed to their pricing and their scope. When he calls to let me know they were going with the other guy, which was 3 weeks after he was supposed to, I said, listen, no hard feelings, but you have my spreadsheet. You can see the job's raw cost, and it is $300,000 lower than that number. Be careful. He just replied by saying, it'll be fine, and he said this in a smug kind of manner. Now for context, they needed the job completed in 8 months, and this is not an easy job to do in New York City. But 2 years later, I ran into the architect, and the clients were still not yet moved in, and they were living in an Airbnb with almost double the budget and lawyers involved with the contractor. Now, I never take pleasure in others suffering, especially in New York City, but it was hard to not feel a small sense of I told you so. I truly believe when they called saying that they'd done it, I think they were hoping I'd write the contract and not notice, and that in and of itself is truly insulting. Wow, those people were so entitled. I can't imagine taking a contractor's spreadsheet with all of their prices listed so obviously and being like, okay, we're gonna change all of this, including the profit margin. Like, are you kidding me right now? That is insanely unethical, and seriously, that would have been a game changer for me. I would have immediately been like, no, there's no way I'm working with you guys. And I think the original poster was right. They were probably thinking, oh, this guy's not gonna notice, we can pull a fast one. Like, seriously, they are massive scumbags. That is so dishonest and so disgusting. So truly, karma definitely bit them right in the rear end, because based on the way they were trying to shortchange this contractor, they absolutely had this coming. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My sister and dad are constantly double teaming me, and they're always calling me emotional and angry, despite the fact that I uprooted my life just to take care of my dad. And at this point, with all things considered, I seriously don't know what to do. My dad, who's elderly and has health issues, has been needing help for the last year or so, and this is because of his increased health issues. I have been essentially a full-time caregiver for him. I temporarily moved in with him and put my life on hold to be here and to take care of his needs. I have had issues with him in the past, as he can have narcissistic traits, and at times he has been very demeaning towards me, while at other times he is seemingly appreciative. My older sister, who's 33 years old, lives about 20 minutes away. She does once in a while cook him a meal or ask if I need help with an errand of some kind, but for the most part, she comes over Sundays and we go to brunch, and she'll mainly spend time with my dad. This past week, we dealt with a pest issue in the basement. We had a problem with some flies, and there were hundreds of them all over the floor. On Friday, I had to call multiple pest control companies, get estimates, see if anybody could do some day work, and finally, I reached someone who came out that night and told me that he would spray it if need be for the new insects, but I would have to clean up the old ones. So Friday night, I vacuumed the floor, I cleaned everything, but there were still some hard to reach areas for the vacuum that I figured I would ask my sister to help me out with. So I asked her to do it for me on Sunday when she comes in. She said she's seeing her friend Sunday, but can come in the morning to help. I told her that I thought moving the desk would be the best solution to get the bugs that she could potentially see and need to take care of. But I also said that I need a break from it because I've been dealing with it all since Friday, and I would like her to help out. She responded by saying that I shouldn't have to do it all myself. Well, fast forward to today, and she had told me that she would be here between 10:30 and 11 o'clock a.m. At 9:50 a.m., I go out to get coffee and do an errand. But at 10 o'clock, she calls me and says, I'm here, where are you? I said that she's there early, and that I'm grabbing coffee, but that she can go ahead and just get started. She then responded by saying, no, I'll just wait for you since you said you needed help moving the desk. I told her there's no point in waiting, and that she can just start cleaning, and if she needs my help when I get back, I can can do that. She then said in response, "So you had me come all the way over here because you just don't want to do it?" At this point, I was so mad. I said to her, "I've been dealing with it for hours since Friday." She then gaslit me by saying that she won't talk to me if I raise my voice, which I didn't. I was reacting to the false information she just said. She then hung up on me. I went home to find her still there talking to Dad. I told her she was totally out of line with me on the phone. She then pretended to act calm, and as if she didn't even say anything rude on the phone in front of my dad. The problem is that my dad is completely scared of her and losing his relationship with her because she has distanced herself from him in the past when he has been rude to her. So he basically tried to tell me several times that I am out of line and didn't tell her once that she should be helping, even though he knows for a fact that she doesn't help. She started screaming at me at the top of her lungs, telling me to shut up, and then saying that I shouldn't raise my voice at her, even though I didn't. And he just basically sat there and let it happen. And then when I responded, he told me to calm down and be quiet. I am absolutely infuriated right now. I feel completely disrespected by both of them. I do the bulk of the work and I get zero credit. She comes over once in a blue moon, and when I actually ask her to do something, this is what happens. My dad is completely scared of rocking the boat with her, so he basically lets me take the brunt of when she starts acting like this, and he acts like I'm in the wrong. The crazy part is that when she leaves in a bit, he's basically going to expect me to make his meals and do everything for him. And I'm feeling so disrespected that I don't feel as though I want to do any of that. Now, honestly, I was very hesitant to actually move in with him in the first place, all because of his narcissistic tendencies, and he has been verbally awful to me at times. However, I let the aspect of him needing help affect me, and so I decided to move in with him. But fast forward to now, and it's been extremely difficult, as he is very unappreciative a lot of the time for what I do. He doesn't have any humility, and he makes me out to be emotional and angry. At this point, my sister has been out of a job for over a year, and doesn't come over to help that often. She and I get along some of the time, but most of the time she can be very dismissive of me. Fast forward to today, and I'm helping my dad out with getting some things. And then we get back and I'm cooking him dinner for tonight. I start making swordfish, and I could hear my sister call him, and they began talking ill of me. My dad would say stuff like, "Yeah, she's so mean to me. She yells at me all the time, and let me just tell you about what happens to me every single day. We wake up and then she gets me my breakfast and medicine, but then she just goes off to get her own coffee. She barely helps me. She only does laundry multiple times a week." And this goes on and on. I overhear this conversation, and for the first few minutes I try to let it go, even though it was really bothering me. I could even hear my sister chiming in and agreeing, because she's upset after the other day when I basically was honest with her about the fact that I don't feel like I can ever get any help from her. My dad continues to talk ill about me for literally 30 minutes. I start to really not be able to handle it well. I'm in here cooking his meal while he has the audacity to talk bad about me to my sister, while they both have narcissism. For context, my mom passed away about 3 years ago in December, and it's been very hard not having her here. I was extremely close with her, and she was similar to myself in a lot of ways. While I continue to hear the phone conversation, I basically then go in the room and interrupt it, making it very clear that I'm not happy with how they've been speaking about me. My sister hangs up the phone, and then I tell my dad that he is awful, and I basically had an emotional reaction to what he was saying. I told him that he's a jerk, and that he is slapping the hand that feeds him. I have been there for over half a year helping him, and yet he has the audacity to talk ill about me to my sister, who hasn't done anything for him in the slightest. After this all happened, or in the middle of it rather, she called him back, and then he answered and said to her, "Yeah, she's still yelling at me," and then he hung up the phone. Usually my sister comes on Sundays, but I am so incredibly uncomfortable right now, and I feel as though I was grouped up on. I don't feel comfortable because I've been helping, and for them to be talking badly about me as gossip because they both have that in them, honestly, I just don't know what to do here. I also don't know how I'm going to get through Sunday at this point. How am I supposed to see the two of them when I feel this way? The problem is also that I gave up my apartment to be here. I am trying desperately to find another place, but it is really difficult. What should I do? Honestly, I seriously don't blame you for getting out of that place. Like, honestly, that is so inappropriate and it's so ridiculous. First and foremost, your dad is absolutely ungrateful for your work. You literally uprooted your life to take care of him. You have gone over and above what you would normally have to do as a child just to take care of your dad and make sure his needs are met. And what does he do? He literally turns around and talks garbage about you. He says all these horrible things and is like, "Oh yeah, she doesn't do anything to help me," all while claiming that you're angry all the time and you're emotional emotional, when in reality, you're just getting upset because of your stupid sister as well as your stupid dad. I totally understand that it took a lot of guts just to move in the first place, but seriously, you deserve so much more than this. These people do not care about you in the slightest. They are taking advantage of your kindness and your willingness to help out your dad. And if I was in your shoes, kind of like how you're doing this right now, I would be making an exit strategy to get out of there and move on with your own life. He clearly does not care about you in the slightest, and it's obvious that he only uses you to get stuff done in his life. And that is so disrespectful and so completely inappropriate. Am I the jerk for thinking that my son's house truly was an open invitation, meaning that we could come over whenever we needed to? Here's what happened. So Hurricane Lee is the thing that our governor and the news media has been warning our state about for the past week. I am taking care of my special need grandson who is nonverbal. During the transition of having my grandson live with me, I had to install the internet as he does need his tablet. My grandson's parents are out of the picture and he is going through a really difficult transition. Whenever I have lost power, my daughter-in-law has always told me that I have an open invitation to their house. They also, on the plus side, have a generator. They say that I can come over anytime, even if I had power. I'm welcome there anytime. So now remember the situation I'm in. I have no power, no internet connection, and no Wi-Fi phone service. So I packed an overnight bag for my autistic grandson, along with food that he likes to eat. I mean, I don't know how long we're going to be without power. I show up and my daughter-in-law is quiet. She tells me that my 40-year-old son had to take their two youngest sons out so she can have some alone time. I apologized that we messed up her time, and I asked her if she had everything running on the generator, and she said no. After her movie and her alone time, she does a few things and hides in her bedroom. Now, this is the first time that she met her nephew, and she showed no interest on her part to even get to know him. My son called me while I was at their house and said that today was my daughter-in-law's alone time and said I shouldn't just show up without calling. I told him I have no power, I have no Wi-Fi, I've got nothing. He then just hung up on me after I told him, and I was kind of scratching my head. I thought this was an open invitation. He tells me by texting that McDonald's has Wi-Fi, and by the time he comes home, he is shutting off his power to his house so that no Wi-Fi can be used by his nephew. He has his two other sons sneak upstairs and not talk to me while we're sitting in the dark. I used the flashlight on my phone to go upstairs and say goodnight to my grandsons. As I got upstairs, my daughter-in-law tells the boys to be quiet. I told my grandsons goodnight and I gave them each a hug and a kiss. And I'm being told that I'm winding up my grandsons, even though it's 7:30 p.m. They eventually kicked us out in the rain with no lights on in the house to see. We were only there for a little under 2 hours, and my lights came back on by that time at my address. Normally when we lose power, it's for several days. I had texted a friend and asked if she could drive by my residence because my son has lied to me in the past. My friend and her husband even offered us to come over in the middle of the night if we lost power again. So honestly, am I the jerk in thinking that my son and daughter-in-law wouldn't mind for us showing up in bad weather when we had no power? I don't think you're the jerk at all. It honestly kind of blows my mind that they acted like this at all. They seriously turned off the Wi-Fi and the power just to chase the two of you out the door. Like seriously, they are massive jerks. Also, this is an emergency situation. Your alone time can wait. We literally have no power and no electricity. Like seriously, don't say that this is an open invitation to your house and then turn around and be like, well, not today at least. This is my alone time. Meanwhile, a hurricane is barreling down towards you people and you want to act super selfish. So no, you're not the jerk in this situation. These people really suck. And honestly, if anything ever happens again similar to this, I would definitely plan on going somewhere else. My entitled friend is upset because I backed out on a holiday getaway, despite the fact that nothing was exclusively planned out and no payments had been made. And now she's angry with me because she's gonna have to pay more. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So this just happened, and I'm really shocked. Like, I seriously don't even know how to respond. So for starters, me, my friend, and her friend were planning to go away for the weekend in October for a little Halloween getaway. Nothing was ever confirmed and hotels were never booked, so it wasn't completely definitive, like nothing was paid for. It was just an exciting idea. Unfortunately, I realized I can't afford to go. I have a lot of expenses to pay for over the next year, with one of those expenses being student loans. My friend mentioned the Halloween getaway tonight. I told her it's not going to work because of my upcoming expenses, and I apologized. I also told her that I feel so bad it's not going to work out. She seemed disappointed, but she seemed to understand. But also her boyfriend was there, so maybe it was just her trying to seem like she was cool and okay with it. She just texted me that she didn't want to bring it up in front of her boyfriend to make me feel awkward, forward, but she feels like it wasn't cool that I backed out last minute. She also made me feel bad because now they have to split the cost 2 ways and not 3 ways. When I tried to clarify over text messaging, she mentioned how much I spent over dinner and that I want to go shopping in a few weeks. So according to her, I could definitely afford $65 per night for this getaway. I told her that I'm not talking about my finances with her and that it doesn't concern her. She said she thinks it's more than me not wanting to go and said to me, "You're insulting my intelligence." Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Nothing was even booked yet, and I didn't make a payment for my half of the trip or even indicate a payment or some kind of commitment. Was I wrong for backing out? Was it too last minute? Or is she in the wrong for her reaction? What should I do? Honestly, you are not at fault here. You have every right to back out of something, especially if you haven't put any money down and there were literally no plans. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point she only wanted you to go so that this trip would be cheaper for her. Like seriously, she's just trying to guilt trip you to save money. So honestly, I think you've seen true colors, and I honestly don't blame you for backing out because she was only in it for the discount, and it really seems like she could have taken anybody with her friend on a Halloween getaway. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Jerk, check out Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked in the description.